Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio /The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there. And let's move on now to Jimmy Butler and the Chicago Bulls. Rumors coming out of Bleacher Report and Rick Bucher, so take that as you may, that the Bulls are shopping Jimmy Butler. Ricky, you're the Bulls fan here. What are your thoughts?
I wish we were talking about my Bulls on better times. I wish that it wasn't like...
I told you.
I said as a joke in our text message group where I sent you a picture of the Bucher article, and I was like, oh, is this an important topic? Can we talk about the Bulls? Can I take off the leash? This is something where I'm kind of on the fence. And the reason I'm on the fence is because I'm not quite sure what direction I want the Bulls to take. Mm-hmm. And it's because Rajon Rondo, I think, should be out of town. If he wants to get traded, fucking send him. Look, I'd be calling Cleveland right now saying, so LeBron says he wants a point guard. What's it going to take? You're going to buy my pop for a year? Here, you can have Rondo. That's what he's worth to me.
You're giving him soda.
Well,
you're giving him a soda machine?
No. He's giving us soda. We're giving him Rondo. They ain't getting soda and Rondo. We're getting the soda. But
what kind of soda?
Maybe Pepsi. Dr. Pepper, if I'm making my choice, because that's what I love. But Rondo, to me, when everyone's like, oh, what's the deal with Rondo? Well, he's not going to be here past this year anyway, so I don't know what we're freaking out about. Let's trade him, try to get something from him. Michael Carter-Williams is surpassing him for the starting point guard on this team anyways.
And he's not a cancer. Rondo is a cancer.
And with Jimmy, it comes down to we can trade Rondo, we could trade Taj, and keep Jimmy. But the thing that comes into it is what we talked about last week of Jimmy's 27 now. By the end of his contract, he's 30. Do you think you can get young talent to win a championship and beat LeBron by the time Jimmy gets to 30?
That's the thing. You don't need to get rid of Jimmy Butler. There's no need to get rid of Jimmy Butler.
You don't need to.
You don't need to at all. You can keep him for 2 years. But it's more of how long do you want to wait to get closer to a championship? And it's really
because he's in his prime.
It's really
he's in his prime.
It's really our. Do you want to wait 3 years for Jimmy Butler to leave or trade him before his contract runs up with a year left? Do you want to wait then and start the rebuild then and possibly get close, or do you want to start the rebuild now? And really, that's the question. And knowing Garpax, you're gonna wait. You're gonna fucking wait, and you're going to wait until year 3, and then they possibly might move Jimmy Butler or look to build around him, and then Jimmy Butler will leave.
After it's too late.
But knowing this inept organization, knowing this inept management, knowing every single thing that has gone down from Paul Gasol to the Derrick Rose fiasco last year to Taj Gibson still being on this team to constant poor mistakes from this front office, not trading Kirk Heinrich away. I know that was Mike Rankin's biggest gripe of last year. It doesn't matter, whatever.
Love Kurt Heinrich.
You possibly could have gotten a 5th overall pick or a 3rd overall pick in the last year draft. Possibly could have gotten Chris Dunn or Jaylen Brown for Jimmy Butler. You might have missed your window to get the biggest payback for Jimmy Butler. But the thing is that Garpax didn't realize that. And the thing is whether you trade him now or whether you trade him in 3 years, it's going to be too late because this rebuild should have started a long time ago. And this rebuild should have started when Hoiberg came in, because I look at this team and there were great pieces and there's great players on this team, but it wasn't a team. When Tom Thibodeau left and Dang left and Noah left and Rose left, you're left with Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler's a great piece. That's a great corner piece to start that puzzle with. Ricky, you got that great puzzle piece in Jimmy Butler there, but you don't have everything else. You pretty much have a puzzle with, if you have a 750-piece puzzle, you're missing 600 of them. You're missing so many pieces in the Chicago Bulls organization. And the thing is with this management, they're not able to put those pieces together. And really, fucking luck helped them the first time with getting Noah and Rose, and that really just pushed them. And they had Thibodeau out there too to sign as your coach. That pushed them there.
The thing that has killed the Bulls the most is whenever we've made a deal in the past, we either haven't made a deal, didn't get the return we needed. Look at Paul Gasol as an example of that.
You got no return.
No return because he left. But even when we trade a guy, we traded Kyle Korver for a trade exemption, never cashed in on that trade exemption. Now Kyle Korver is in Cleveland. Well, we didn't get anything for Kyle Korver.
Not yet.
We didn't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Still haven't gotten anything for Kyle Korver. We're not, and that's the thing. When we make trades, we're not getting anything.
And even with the Sacramento thing, I mean, this is a lottery protected pick, and you're waiting for Sacramento to fall out of pretty much make the playoffs to get that pick back. And I think if it doesn't happen this year, then it becomes a second round pick.
If it doesn't happen this year, we get a second this year.
So you fucked up that too. I mean, looking at the way that the organization has handled trades before. No matter what, I have a feeling the Bulls are losing this trade if they trade him, just because this organization is so inept when it comes to value and when it comes to trade. I mean, Ricky, honestly, we call you tinfoil hat, Ricky.
You want a tinfoil?
What?
Do you? Because
well, real quick, let me finish up my thought. It's more of you can pretty much be doing what Garpax is doing because they have fallen into luck to where they were when D Rose and Joakim Noah and Luol Deng were playing on the same team. But you look at this, and they had luck too. They shouldn't have been picking Derrick Rose. They traded Eddie Curry away and got a pick where the Knicks were pretty much 14th in that lottery, and they got the number one pick. They fell into this. The kid
from Chicago got to go home.
The Bulls have fallen into pretty much all of their pretty much success. I mean, even
Michael Jordan.
He should have been number one. Sam Bowie went number one. And then you give Jordan at two. Yeah. And Jerry Reinsdorf has the diamond there to pick up Jordan. And then Jordan, I don't know if you heard of this guy. He was the greatest player in the NBA, NBA history.
I don't know if you've heard of this guy.
Really, I mean, there's pretty much one guy that can possibly unseat him right now, and that's LeBron James.
And the one thing I do want to say, because I don't want people to come after you in the comment section.
Bring it.
Like they did for Greg Oden.
Bring it.
Jordan was third, not two.
God damn it.
Third. So
Hakeem was there too, right?
I didn't want you to look stupid there.
I already look.
Hakeem was one. Bowie was two.
I look stupid. Hakeem was
Olajuwon, Bowie, Jordan, Perkins, and then Charles Barkley.
I fucked up. I'm sorry. And
John Stockton went 16th in that draft.
And let's not get into the 84 draft.
I know.
But the thing is, Jordan went 3, and they fell into that.
I wish Dave was on this podcast. I wish he was on this podcast because the trade that I am going to throw out to you would basically make him very happy. It might give him to, if you're a long-time Onside Kick fan, when Dave used to be there, he had said this once on a podcast, this would give him a massive erection. And this is a trade I'm going to throw out there.
I thought you were going to ship Joel Embiid to the Bulls.
I am looking at a trade. This is from the Fanside website, Pippin Ain't Easy. PippinAintEasy.com. This is Dan Coughlin, one of their staff writers, did 5 different scenarios or actually it's 6 different scenarios for Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
The last one he has, 76ers. Here's the trade, and it works. Jimmy Butler for the process, Okafor, and Dario Saric. And the Bulls would get the first round pick.
Can you say that again?
The process, Okafor, Saric, and a 27 first rounder for this year.
For Jimmy Butler. Fire that guy. That's what I'm saying. If you're SB Nation and if you're PippinAintEasy.com,
it's Fansided, not SB Nation.
Fansided. If you're Fansided and he's writing for Pippin Ain't Easy, fire him.
And I like
Joel Embiid. No, stop. Joel Embiid, who is the most promising rookie currently.
Okafor,
who is a top pick, and Saric, who is an international top pick.
I can dream, can I? I just wanted to dream a little bit,
What did you take? Are you lucid dreaming and controlling your dreams? That doesn't even happen in dreams. That happens when you get hit on the head.
And this is the best part of the article. And
it gets better?
This is the exact quote.
Get off this site.
This trade is a little less exciting, but it would be borderline transfer of the process to the 76ers to Chicago, something I've called for the Bulls to drive into before. A little less exciting, I would be doing backflips on this table if we got the process for Jimmy.
If that trade happened, if that trade was available and Garpax made it, they finally they stole that. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. Get off that site. Don't bring anything up. Let's get back here.
Can I assist, though? Is there a legit situation where the Bulls could look to maybe move a Jimmy Butler where they just call up the 76ers and they go, we want to give you Jimmy, We want the process. What's the deal we can wrap around this?
Get off that, because I don't think Jimmy Butler fits in with the 76ers at all. If they want to go young, they're going to go young. The process will work out. They currently are sitting on 2 top 10 picks. They have Joel Embiid, they have Jahlil Okafor, they have Nerlens Noel, they have Dario Saric, they have Ben Simmons. They have so many assets that they can move and fit that team better. Because
the one team I do look at that everyone's saying is obviously Boston, because we've had the ties to them before with Jimmy with the draft. But like, I look at their team, they're not they're not giving us Isaiah Thomas. That's the guy I would really want. They're not giving us Thomas.
You want Thomas for Butler?
Well, it's one of those things where I look at their team and I go, I don't want Jaylen Brown. I don't want Marcus Smart.
You want that number 1 overall pick. That's what you want.
Yeah, but what we got to get players for the cap. I don't want garbage players just for one guy that we're going to get in a draft.
Ricky, if the Bulls got the number 1 overall pick, you'd be ecstatic. Get out of here.
Yeah, but it depends on what we got too. We got to get more than just one pick for Jimmy Butler.
The team that I'm going to bring up, and this is I don't know if it's going to work, but I really think that the Bulls should trade Jimmy Butler immediately. Get him out of town and start this rebuild once again. Because
I think we have to, but I'm not sold against it.
Let me say what I'm thinking is Jimmy Butler needs to get out of town, because yes, Jalen Rose said it. This is a piece that you need to build around. Jimmy Butler's a piece you can build around, but Garpax has shown that they can't do that in 3 years.
Then why not get rid of Garpax?
That's not going to happen, Ricky.
I know, but
get out of your pipe dream.
I'm just using logic here. I'm just using logic.
The Bulls don't run on logic.
I know.
Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't run on logic here.
I know. It's just one of those things where it's like, why not get rid of the problem?
But Jimmy Butler, the problem's been apparent for years. But Jimmy Butler here, he needs to go. And the thing is not about Jimmy. And it's really that you need to start fresh here, because we have seen that Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, those players didn't work. Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, that didn't work. That didn't bring you a title. Tom Thibodeau running that team didn't work. Tom Thibodeau running Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah didn't work. And then Fred Hoiberg running that same team with Paul Gasol didn't work. Something is not working. And whether it's the players, whether it's the GM, whether it's the owner, whether it's all three of them, it needs a fresh start. And the fresh start is going to come from the players first, then it's going to come from the coaches, and then it's going to come from the GM, because this isn't like the NFL where you can get rid of GMs like that, because it won't happen.
I thought about this yesterday, and we talked last week about Fred Hoiberg. Is he the problem? Why not take, and the ones I look at are D-Wade, Rondo, Butler, and Taj. Why not basically do what the White Sox have done? Clear house, get draft picks, because you can get draft picks, I want to say, for easily good first-round picks for Butler and Taj.
You can get a top 10 pick for Butler. You can get
here's what I would
20th.
do. Here's what I would do.
That range for Taj?
Just a first rounder in general for Taj.
Yeah,
maybe like just outside the lottery. I would first take Rondo. I would call up the Cavaliers and say, we're looking to trade Rondo. What would you offer us? And that's how I would start it. And I would look to trade Rondo to the Cavaliers. One thing I heard, and this wasn't the worst idea for me, for D-Wade, because D-Wade's interesting. You brought him in. He's been good for this team. He's been a veteran. He loves the city. What I would do is I would go to D-Wade, and I would say, you know what, D? We all know at the end of this year, you're not taking your player option. You're going to try to get more money. And we're just sadly not going to be able to accommodate you with that kind of a deal. Here's what I'm going to do. What about a team that isn't far from Chicago, so he wouldn't have to move if he didn't want to? He played his college ball there, and they're a young up-and-coming team that has more potential than this Bulls team, and has a guy that maybe he can foster into a superstar one day.
Get to the point and bring up Milwaukee.
The Milwaukee Bucks. That's what I would do. I would look to trade D-Wade to Milwaukee, Rondo to Cleveland. Then I'm sitting there with Taj. Taj is who wants him. Just he's out there, get the best deal that comes in, doesn't matter what team. And then Jimmy, I'm looking at a top 3 pick and I'm going, who wants to give me their top 3 pick?
This is what I'll do. And you laid out the groundwork for everybody else for clearing it out. Now I'll come clean up your scraps of Jimmy Butler, and this is the trade, and this is the thing
just
that makes the most.
Taj too?
You can do your Taj on the separate thing. If we're going White Sox, they're separate. They're selling assets by the single batch here. If you're looking at a team that makes the most sense, and I think that everyone knows this, and obviously Boston's been brought up before, and this camera's off. But we'll run through it. We're just going with it. The one thing that people know, I think people know where I'm going with this, is it's the Minnesota Timberwolves, because Tom Thibodeau loved Jimmy Butler. Two-way player, fantastic player, becoming a superstar. I think he'd fit well with Andrew Wiggins. I think he'd fit well with Karl-Anthony Towns. You have him under control. And the guy that really you could move, and he's been absolutely fantastic this year, and I'm not saying that he hasn't, but Zach LaVine should be moved for Jimmy Butler, because this was a trade that was brought up here last year. So really the trade that I have kind of worked out, and I don't know if it's the exact trade that should happen, but it should be something that, at least this could be the groundwork, where Minnesota's trading Zach LaVine and you get their first-round draft pick, which is sitting around 8th right now, or 8th or 5th, but where the Timberwolves currently sit, that's where it is. And then you send to the T-Wolves Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, and then your first. That's my thought there. Or you can take out Taj if that's too much. So then you're
say it one more time.
Swapping first.
Okay, this year we swap first.
Swapping first and Zach for Jimmy Butler. And obviously there's more there. That's the groundwork, where the pretty much headliner is you move up to a top 10 pick and you get Zach LaVine for Jimmy Butler, and then you lose a pick pretty much.
But really we're swapping. So it's we get a top 5 pick, because that's probably where the T-Wolves are going to be.
Top 10.
Zach LaVine is really good.
I think he's better by himself.
Just are giving up Butler. The only thing that would trump that is if the Celtics could give us more, meaning more picks other than just this year.
And that makes sense. But what I'm saying is,
could the T-Wolves throw in future picks?
The team that's making the most sense. And I'm just saying the groundwork of that, Zach LaVine first for Jimmy Butler and swapping first.
Because Thibodeau will want to work with him.
But I just think it makes the most sense, because you look at Andrew Wiggins, and kind of similar player, at least where Jimmy was early in his career, where he, at least offensively, where he was able to get to the basket, and Wiggins has improved his three-point shot like Jimmy Butler has in his career, but kind of that player where they do use their length, they do use their athleticism to drive baseline, and that's a player that you can work off of with Butler and Wiggins working together, and then you have a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns who can be completely dominant, and you have that veteran leadership of Butler who's been to the playoffs and who has worked with Tom Thibodeau, and he could be just your workhorse for you, like kind of Luol Deng was for the Chicago Bulls back when Tibbs was here. So that's the mindset of here, and really the mindset of me, and you can finish this up and knock whatever else you have to say after I'm finished, is Jimmy Butler should be moved. The Bulls should clean house, both player-wise, coaching-wise, and front office-wise. The owner won't do that, and I think the owner should be gone as well, because Jerry Reinsdorf has ruined 2 franchises in Chicago, both the White Sox and Bulls. But what needs to happen for the Chicago Bulls is cleaning house.
I'm not completely against you, and the reason why I'm not is I've had the thought. I have had the thought of cleaning house, and it just pains me, because right now the Bulls are on a fence, and you got to think to yourself, can you win with Jimmy and trade the rest and get young players and build around Jimmy, which you can, but by the time those players develop into something of anything, unless they're like superstars, is by the time they become anything, Jimmy's 30 and he missed his prime. And then you're thinking, well, we got to trade him, but we're not going to get much for him. Because of that, it pains me to say, I hate it. We got to clear house. We do. Because how do you get better in this league right now? You build through the draft. And that's not something that we've been doing. And Jimmy Butler, I heard it today on ESPN Chicago on Waddle and Sylvie. It was one of those things where they said the only thing the Bulls have done right is Jimmy Butler. They drafted him. They developed him. They kept him. They gave him the deal. They've done everything right with Jimmy Butler. Why would you get rid of him? And I think to myself, to set us up for a future, any future that's better than right now.
And that's it. Jimmy Butler's the only thing they have done right because Noah, they fucked that up.
Rose, they fucked that up.
Well, his body fucked up their moments.
His personality fucked it up too.
But
he can go fuck himself.
But also, I mean, after his MVP season goes down with the
no
injury as well.
respect for Rose anymore.
But to wrap it up that's the thing. You need to clean house, and in any league, NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, you can't be mediocre. You can't be right outside of the lottery. You can't be at the bottom of the lottery. You need to be bad or you need to be great. And to become great, you need to be bad. Because look at Cleveland. How did Cleveland become so great? They were the number 1 overall pick. They picked LeBron James. And then you saw the resurgence in Cleveland. And then obviously he went to Miami, but he saw there was something in Cleveland. And he left Miami, went back, went to Kyrie. And how did Cleveland get Kyrie? They were bad. So that's one thing. That's one thing. You need to be bad before you get good. It's always darkest before the dawn.
I want to mention
quote Florence and the Machine.
I want to mention 2 things before we do wrap up this podcast. Yep. One, Jimmy Butler is what they done right. Bobby Portis is one that maybe they done wrong. Drafting him was great. Last year was pretty good. Oh, he looked good in the summer league. He's not looking like he's getting the development that he needs. And also the one player that I didn't mention a trade for, Taj Gibson. I have found one for him, actually 2, but it's the same team. Pick your poison. It would basically be the Houston Rockets. And what we would get if the Rockets would agree to it is we'd get Sam Decker, either Corey Brewer or Trevor Ariza.
Gotta bring Corey Brewer back.
Pick whichever one you want, either Ariza or Brewer, and then a pick just for Taj, because you'd have to get a pick in that deal.
And we are going to wrap up on that notion. If you are a Chicago Bulls fan, tell us what you think in the comments down below. If you also have any thoughts on the Atlanta Hawks or the Kyle Korver trade to Cleveland, tell us down below. But Ricky, got to thank you for being on the Fast Break Podcast.
Trade Rolo too. Forgot about Rolo.
Thanks for being on the Fast Break Podcast. Tell us your thoughts down in the comments. If you are listening on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get to 5,000. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio or you downloaded us on Blog Talk Radio, thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate you making us a part of your day. But for Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Oh, shit. Oh, it's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one. And also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.